What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new edition of G-Rated. I'm your host, Gerald Bourget, joined by Saul and Flex, a first-timer on the program. Today, we are talking about Winning Time, which just wrapped up season 2 and quite possibly the whole series, unfortunately.
No, that's the end.
We're praying that someone picks it up because it can't go out like that.
It's going to go out like that. I mean, that is a whole ending. I mean, they just spoiled everything else. I mean, you can look it up on Google, but still,
we're hoping that some other streaming platform will come and pick it up. But yeah, as of right now, Winning Time is over, and it went out on a losing note as far as the story
losing time.
It sucks, man. But I let's talk about the positives first, because I, as a basketball fan, as a Phoenix resident, obviously we all hate the Lakers. It's a thing that it just is what it is. But I love these types of shows and these types of deep dives and looking back on NBA history. And this was, yes, there were some inaccuracies throughout, but the way that it was dramatized and the way that it was done was so much fun to watch as a basketball fan.
Yeah, the way it was filmed. Just the overlays, the filters, it just made you feel like you were sitting back in front of the tube. That's what they used to call it back in the day, and watching this happen. Listen, the last episode, the most phenomenal part of the last episode was how they recreated the CPS intro to the game.
Yes.
I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
I thought the same thing, bro.
Awesome.
So you can remember you were watching that, right? I was watching that too. Like, I remember it brought back so much nostalgia, man. It was a lot of fun. But I'm with Gerald, man. Losing Time, man. You cannot have such an iconic show and go out like that. It's like, was this the Larry Bird show then? I mean,
all along, Winning Time was not what we thought. It was actually someone else. But so as much as people complain about there were some inaccuracies and stuff, I thought, especially in the finale, the attention to detail with some of the basketball plays was like spot on, because there's the tragic Johnson thing where he kind of froze at the end. I went back and watched that play. It is like,
it's spot on.
The clothesline with McHale.
Yes,
that was spot on.
That was spot on.
And then I loved how Larry Bird did the butt push to keep her out of bounds, because that's exactly how it went down.
Yep.
There were so many little things that I was just like, oh man, that's exactly what happened. That's wild. The Kareem going off the court and having to fight somebody.
And a lot of people didn't know that got that crazy. Like,
wild.
It was basically a riot on the court after that.
and you fast forward, I'm watching that, and immediately I go to the Malice in the Palace, right? You fast forward now, hindsight being 2020, and you're like, okay, if that happened now,
oh man,
oh boy, oh boy. And how about this is the stuff I love is, I miss that basketball so much. Nobody got ejected.
Right.
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Rambis got destroyed. And I remember as a kid watching it, and it's just like, all right, everybody get y'all lumps in. Okay, get back on the court and play. If that happened in this era, obviously you want to protect players, but man, that was some fun basketball.
I love that scene, because the whole thing of Bird egging him on and then telling him, if you apologize, I'll break your fucking neck.
Yes.
That
Dude,
was
Larry
fantastic.
Bird was a savage in that thing, man. What's so funny is, it's like, if you talk to people, like EJ, he'll tell you that's exactly how it was. Like, that's exactly how that dude rolls, man. There's nothing nice about Larry Bird on the basketball court.
No, and that, I love the 12 heart transplants ran to the locker room. That was like spot on to what happened in real life. And that kind of segues into my next thing that made the show so good. The casting in this was really, really hard to beat. Like, obviously, it was kind of a star-turning performance for Quincy Isaiah's Magic, because he was a ringer for Magic in this. Solomon Hughes as Kareem was fantastic, but like every single casting decision they made was really good for people who knew these people in real life or watched them on TV.
I mean, John C. Reilly.
Yes.
As Jerry Buss.
Bro, that's incredible.
The hair, the whole, I mean, I still can't get over how he was depicted and how it all unfolded. Like, he did a great job of not only making you feel like, I want this guy to succeed, but also he's kind of a scumball. Right. But also, like, he just seems like the kind of cool guy you'd want to hang around. Like, a mixture of all that. Yeah. Really, really well done.
I was blown away with the casting, man. I think Magic Johnson, you can't find a better person on planet Earth to play that role. I mean, I'm watching it, and there's a part where I'm like, this guy's got to be related to Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
The smile, the charisma, the mannerisms. I mean, he nailed it, dude. He absolutely nailed it.
Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a small part, and you're going back to like how they got the accuracy in terms of the games going on. If you watch Dennis Johnson, the guy who played Dennis Johnson,
DJ,
when he goes to the free throw line, his shot and his form, dude, I thought it was Dennis Johnson.
Right.
And they cut real quick. It was kind of hard to see, but
quick,
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, and for a basketball, purist, like that's everything. You got to make sure that you hit those details. Otherwise, it just comes off as gimmicky.
They nailed the Kareem hook shot, the Magic Johnson behind the back passes. Larry Bird's jumper was pretty spot on too.
Oh,
like,
bro.
that's hard to recreate.
My favorite two scenes in the whole series was the two cut scenes where Magic and Bird are D'ing each other down a clutch.
Yeah.
And Magic is trying to shut Bird down. Bird hits the jumper the first time and gets him to miss the shot the second time. But I just, when I saw that, I felt like I was a kid again in my living room watching that cross matchup. And it's like, okay, because that's what, when we were kids, that's what everybody was looking for. And when you're watching the game live, you're like, how many times are you going to see Magic and Bird cross match? Stuff like that.
You know what's so funny is like when I grew up, there was a video, VHS of Larry Bird, just kind of talking about his his journey, and they talk about that first series against Magic and the clothesline and how everything, and it would lead you to believe in that video that once that clothesline happened, like the Celtics just routed this series afterwards. I didn't even realize that was a 7-game series.
Right.
I had no idea. I thought it was just like a blowout for the Celtics after that. I didn't realize that they came back to LA, lost, and then had to go back to Boston. Like, I just, again, like I kind of learned a few things from this series. There were some embellishments in the series for sure, which I'm sure we're going to get into, but it was fantastic. I thought overall, fantastic.
And I think it's a tribute to the quality of actors and actresses that they found for the show, that like you knew that they're not these people, but it just engrossed you. And even if you knew what was going to happen, like seeing it recreated and so accurately in some of the basketball stuff was incredible. Adrien Brody as Pat Reilly and Jason Segel as Paul Westhead were outstanding. Like,
incredible.
I so wanted to punch
Jason Segel.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, you were
bro.
such a douchebag.
He was.
Oh my God.
I don't know how Pat Riley didn't lose his mind and choke him out, bro. Because it was insane. But it go so farther into it, man. Like I thought the actress that played Jeannie was incredible.
Right.
I thought she was really good. Norm Nixon.
Yeah.
I mean,
Devon
that
Nixon,
was, and that's his son.
That's his son, yeah.
I mean, so this was like one of the best put together casts I've seen for a show like this. They nailed this, man.
And we didn't even mention Jason Clarke as Jerry Buss, which, or not Jerry Buss, as Jerry West.
As Jerry West.
Which,
oh man, yeah.
Him going off was hilarious, even though it rubbed some people the wrong way as far as accuracy. It was so funny every time.
I did not expect that.
Yeah.
In season 1, when he comes out hot. Yeah. I mean, hot. Yo, I'm like, damn, is this how he really was in real life? Now, of course, they embellished it a little bit, but man, because you look at Jerry West and he just seems like this calm, put together guy, just an easygoing kind of Jerry Colangelo type.
Yes.
And then you look at this, you're like, man, was he really like this hot all the time?
Right.
Just peaking.
They really leaned into this identity. Like, what if Jerry West really was bitter about how many times he went to the finals and lost to the Celtics, and it just tormented him?
Yeah.
And it was entertaining for sure. The one thing I will say about this show is whether it was fully accurate or not, it was pretty much always entertaining throughout and very stylish, like you mentioned, with the filters and making you feel like you're in the 80s. But
for sure. The only gripe I would have,
we can get into that now, because I feel like we've identified what made the show so great, but for it to end the way that it did feels wrong. And I was kind of worried about it because, first of all, it went from, I think, 10 episodes first season to just 7 this one. The pacing was kind of uneven throughout, because one episode it would jump like a whole full year to the end of the season, And then this final episode, it was all about that one series, which was great, but it's weird to end a show called Winning Time on that. And originally they thought they were going to have more seasons. So the last shot of season 2 was supposed to be Magic in the locker room shower, like ruminating on this rivalry that's about to begin, setting the stage for like the revenge that they were going to try and get.
I'm mad hearing you say this.
And then they realized that they might not get a season 3. So they went back and reshot that scene with Jerry and Jeannie at the end, kind of the Lion King, like, and this will all be mine, like that scene to kind of end it on an upbeat note. But it was just weird to have the next decade basically play out in a slideshow at the very end.
Yeah, that's tough to handle.
Yeah.
Because you want to see what their depiction of this is all going to be.
Yeah.
That was really rough. The other thing for me was I wasn't a big fan of how they didn't transition Magic Johnson to being the leader of that locker room. I mean, Magic Johnson, I know they had Kareem, and Kareem was the captain, but there was a point in time a little earlier than what they depicted it that basically the torch was handed over to Magic Johnson. It felt like the entire time through these 2 seasons, Magic was grinding, trying to prove that he was like this dude.
Right.
When in actuality, that wasn't the case. Magic was essentially that dude from day one. You know, running the show. Once he replaced Kareem at center in the NBA Finals, that was kind of like the handing of the torch. Like this is Showtime. This is Magic. And then I did love the fact that they got the Utah thing. They nailed that in terms of Magic Johnson saying he wanted to be traded. Right. Yeah. I didn't even know that happened. Yeah. And then you go back and you're like, oh shit, what? Yeah. That's wild.
They did get a lot of like the events.
A day later, Paul Westhead.
Gone. Like that whole episode.
That press conference was actually very accurate.
It was.
Yeah. Bro, that press conference in real life was a shit show.
It was almost line for line. It was pretty spot on.
They did a great job with that. So I had a gripe with the Magic thing too. And there was a scene in the last episode that I thought tried to tiptoe around that, but it just wasn't enough for me. And that was a scene where Magic walks in where Kareem's got the migraine. He's like, give me the room. He turns off the light. That was the first time in the whole series where you kind of saw Kareem and Magic have that brotherly connection, because it was always that kind of a conflict. And we know through history that Magic taking over and having that role happened way before that. So.
Also, side note, again, the details are phenomenal. In that scene, when they hit the lights, you can hear the buzz of the light turn off.
Yes.
And if you've ever had migraines, that's a big deal. Like, and so as you sat there and you heard that and you didn't even realize it was happening, and then he hit the switch and the lights turn off and the sound turns off, you're like, oh shit, I feel better already. I felt better watching.
Right.
Yeah.
And it made the scene more heartwarming.
Yeah.
Because it felt like Magic cared. It was like, I know what you need, big fella. Here you go. Turn the lights, get out. Here's another pack of ice.
Yeah.
And I love the whole Kareem, like, you know, that shit talking part of, like, you know what I do when I'm mad. I love it, man. I love it.
And to that point about the Magic complaint about passing the torch from Kareem and how in real life it happened earlier, I do think they had, if they'd had gotten more seasons, they would have had an opportunity to, because obviously it's a TV show, so you want it to kind of make sense from a story perspective. And so I feel like because we talked about this, we didn't get to see the Magic hook shot in the finals against the Celtics. That would have been the prime moment for the Kareem Magic relationship to kind of like, I took the big man's shot and I hit it. And like that could have been that. So it's hard. It's easy to wonder like, okay, were they going to do that? Were they going to aim? Was that kind of what the long-term plan was? But in terms of this season and what we got, it didn't. So many plot threads were just left hanging. Like the whole Jeannie Jerry thing was kind of resolved, but not really. There was nothing with the whole Honey $100 million lawsuit
resolved there.
And I think they played too much into that. I think they could have used. I don't like that they went so far into that, the Honey thing, because we don't have a resolution. We ended the show and no one really knows what happened.
Right.
I think they could have used that time to kind of get into the Magic Kareem thing a little bit more. That little part of it kind of threw me off a little bit.
But also like just the antagonist part of this, like we're missing, right? Yeah. Larry Bird, after that, like they end up winning 2 championships in that short span, including the 1986 team, which a lot of people think is one of the best teams to ever play basketball.
You're talking about the 86 Celtics when they beat the Rockets.
Yeah. But like that team was just epic. They kind of mirrored the run and gun Lakers style and just demolished teams all season long. So you kind of missed that because that would have been the buildup until the Lakers come back in 87 and 88.
Right.
And you're just like, oh man, it's like revenge tour. It's just so sad.
I wish someone would pick it up, man.
I hope so, because there's so many things that they could build. Like, obviously we know history. There's so many more meetings between these two teams, but like even just something as simple as we see James Worthy make that boneheaded pass, and then I think it's the next year where he just goes off in the finals and
he wins
himself.
MVP against the Pistons.
Right. Like there were so many things that they could have fleshed out in future seasons.
If I'm Worthy, I'm pissed.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, I'm a Hall of Famer first ballot, and the only love I get is a turnover to blow the series.
Yeah,
like,
one mention as a top pick, and then I commit the turnover, and that's
and
all
then
I get.
that scene that scene where Worthy goes to Magic and he's like, "In my bad," and Magic's like, "I don't want to hear that shit."
Right?
I'm like, yo, Worthy's probably hot right now.
Yeah.
Oh it's tough, but for season 2, it's tough to grade because it's hard to tell what was planned for this season, what they had to change, knowing that they might not come back, and what they could have built on it. But if you had to give it a final score out of 10, where would you go?
I'm going to give it out of 10. I'm going to give it a 9.
Okay.
Because, listen, if you can invoke emotion and make me feel something for the Lakers, and listen, the way they ended, I think 2 of the 7, they ended it with "fuck Boston."
Oh, that was great.
And I just like they like gassed you up the whole episode, and by the end I was like, man, fuck Boston. You know what I mean? Like, yes. And listen, man, my wife, she watched every episode with me, and she watched last year kind of like half paying attention, half on her phone. This time she watched every episode because she was just, she was enthralled with it. She loved it, and it was a fun series. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I was gonna go 9.5, but because of the way it ended, I gotta dip it down to a 9. But I tell you what, the nostalgia of it, the feeling of making you feel young and feel like a kid again, like this was super dope. There's not too many shows that get me to that point where I'm at home excited. I want to grab the popcorn because I want to relive what I saw 30 years ago. So for that, it's definitely a 9. And man, I'm just praying somebody picks this up because I want it to end on that magic hook, man.
Also, can I just say this? Like, I don't know if it's the nostalgia in me or what, but bring back the pregame hype storylines.
Yeah.
Like the intro videos for CBS, but across the country is another guy, from Indiana. That, you know what I mean? Like, you got goosebumps. Like NBA on NBC used to do that too, it just, the intros got you hyped up. It made you care about a game sometimes that you had no interest in.
Right.
And it built those storylines, and now you're like, oh my God, like I gotta care. I gotta root for LeBron, or I gotta root for Steph, or I gotta bring that back, please.
Can I have to tell you this. So I'm watching that, and what do? I go on YouTube and go to the Suns Bulls game 1, NBA Finals, to see that.
Yeah.
And it gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they show Mike in Chicago and Chuck coming to Phoenix, and the sun is rising. And bro, can we get that back?
Yeah.
Right.
Gerald, can we get that back?
I would love that.
Let's get that back.
To your point, like our friend Aaron on Twitter had said, I need winning time to last more seasons so we can see MJ come in as like Thanos at the end of the Lakers run.
And just end it all.
Yeah.
Think of that though, Gerald. If somebody picked that up and wanted to go that far with it, so we're going to take this to the Kareem and Magic ending, that would be that.
Well, okay. So the very first episode, the very first scene is Magic in the car outside of the Forum. And what you assume is he's got to go tell the press that he's got HIV.
Yes.
So we don't even get closure on that.
That's what I'm saying.
So I thought that's where we were going to end.
Right.
So Michael Jordan for sure would have come in by that point because he's the last one to beat Magic on the basketball court.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Never got
Could
that.
you imagine
Epic
the
failure.
drama if you incorporate Jordan and then you incorporate those bad boy Pistons.
Yep.
And I thought it was going to that because the mom in the locker room goes, Bill Lambier's my favorite player.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh,
that was great.
here we go.
Yes.
All the bad boys are coming.
Yes.
And then when I looked at, I'm looking around the room. I'm like, no, this can't be real.
Yeah.
These slides are not real.
And then you have the potential for a Winning Time spinoff all about the Bulls. Like you could do a whole new spinoff with multiple seasons of that. And that would be amazing. But
who would play Dennis Rodman? Oh my
God.
Oh my God. Let's go.
Yeah. So hopefully someone picks this up because like we've talked about, like the attention to detail, the basketball nostalgia, the cast itself. Like we didn't talk much about Sean Patrick Small as Larry Bird or Michael Chiklis as Red. You mentioned Hadley Robinson as Jeannie. Like every single casting decision they made was really good. For me, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I was at a 9 until I learned that this was just kind of how it's going to end. And I would be happy in retrospect to bump that grade up if someone, Netflix, someone picks this up. Because HBO Max or Max now, I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. But man, it's a tough one.
That's a hard one to swallow because
we know there's so much history to be tapped into, and we're not going to get to see it.
Again, the NBA, unlike any other sport, it can tell you a storyline in real time that you just can't make up. And it's the beauty of basketball, man. It's the beauty of the NBA, and that's why we love it so much.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get to see more of Winning Time so it doesn't end on a losing note. But that's going to do it for this edition of G-Rated. You can follow me on Twitter at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And you can follow Flex at Flex from Jersey. Until next time, keep it G-Rated.